Alright, so this is your lesson on solving and graphing the AND type of inequalities. Now, to solve them, it's like solving an equation with 3 sides instead of 2. Whatever you do to the inside portion, we have to do to the outside portion. So, in addition to solving, we also want to be able to graph these inequalities. So we'll look at example 1 here. Example 1, negative 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 4. So, looks like it's already solved. X is by itself in the middle. I have 4 and negative 1 by themselves. So, already solved. Therefore, I just need to do the graphing portion. In order to do that, I'm going to need a number line. So, we want to add a number line to our notes. Our number line needs to contain numbers that from negative 1 to 4. I always go 1 before and 1 after. So I'm going to start with negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, kind of ran out of room. So we'll fix that. Go on. 5 and more. There we go. Now, at negative 1, I need to use an open circle because I have a less than sign. So I use an open circle. At 4, I'm going to use a closed circle. I'll use a different color. 4, I'm going to use a closed circle because of the greater than, less than, or equal to sign. So at 4, I use a closed circle. Now, x is less than or equal to 4, so I shade this way with green. And x is greater than or equal to negative 1, so I'm going to shade this way with the orange. And my answer is the overlap. So, answer is the overlap. So, I have from negative 1 to 4 solved. In this format, it's kind of easy to make a graph. You put your points at negative 1 and your point at 4, or whatever your numbers may be, and you shade in between the two. Just make sure you have your circles correct as you go. Now let's look at when we actually have to solve first as well. So for this problem, negative 2 is less than or equal to 2x plus 4, which is less than or equal to 10. So I'm going to solve this like I would any equation, except now I'm working with 2 separate equal signs. So if it helps you, draw the division lines like you would for an equation, except you have 2 in this case. So we work from the outside, we work from the inside to the outside. We work from inside to outside. So I need to get x by itself. In order to do that, I'm going to start by subtracting 4. I need to subtract 4 from both sides of my inequality now. So this side is negative 2 minus 4 gives me negative 6. The 4 in here cancels with the positive 4, so I'm just left with 2x. And then 10 minus 4 gives me 6. Go ahead and solve this. The next step would be to divide by 2. So negative 3 is going to be less than x, which is going to be less than 3. So negative 3 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 3. So just like we did on number 1, we need to draw our number line. I'll start more in the middle so I can space out my numbers better this time. Start at 0, 1, and negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Still a little off with my spacing, but that's what you get when you freeform a graph. So at negative 3, I use an open circle, again because it's less than, and there's no equal to bar. At positive 3, I have less than or equal to, so I use the closed circle. Now because it's and, I shade in between to represent that all those numbers in between, negative 3 and 3, are going to be my solution set. Now I'm going to have you try problems down here, P1 and P2. I'm going to ask that you solve them and attempt to answer them before you see the answer. So you'll have to solve number 1, put an answer in, and then you will see the answer. And the same thing for the number 2. You'll have to solve it and then you'll see the answer to make sure you have it correct. After you solve them, make sure you have the correct answers written down, and that will conclude your notes on solving and graphing inequalities. Okay, so now you have to solve practice problem number 1. To solve practice problem number 1, you've had to attempt to solve it already. You either got it right, which in that case, good job. If you did not, I apologize. Maybe this explanation will help you understand where you went wrong. So just like we did on example 2, I'm going to start from the inside and work to the outside. Start by subtracting 2. I get negative 3. 3x is in the middle. This is 9. Divide by 3 to get the x by itself. And so I have negative 1 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 3. So draw a number line. It has to start at negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe now you can see the number line I just drew. And now you have an open circle here and a closed circle here, and you shade in between. So that is your solution for practice problem 1. Now if you haven't already tried it, go ahead and try practice problem number 2 to see what you get here. Alright, again, if you have practice problem 2 correct, good job. You're seeing this, you can go ahead and skip through. You've already seen the correct answer. You don't need to take the time to watch it. You are actually at this point done with the video and can move on to the next activity. So, for those of you that didn't get it right, here is how I would go about solving it. First, I would multiply everything by 2 to get rid of that fraction. So I have negative 8. And I have x minus 9 inside because the 2 and the 1/2 cancel out. And 0 times 2 is going to be 0. Now I add 9 to both sides. And so I have 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 9. Now I have to create a number line to represent this problem, the solution, and I'll go from there. So this is 1. I go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I told you guys you should always go 1 before and 1 after, so I need to add that in, like I said. Do less than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 9, and shade in between. So there's your solution, and there's your number line. Alright, if you had to watch through the example, you are now done. Please move on to your next activity.